Okay, this is a little video to help get you going on your first draft and outline assignment. Not in that order, outline first, then draft. So I'm taking a look with you at our Blackboard site at the Unit 1 Essay 1 instructions. And I've typed out, some instructions, but I'm going to kind of walk it through. And of course, again, remember I found this by going to the blue button, course instruction, selected Unit 1, and then I selected it again to get the Essay 1 instructions, which is the first thing you're supposed to do. So my little mouse is bouncy here, but it said to check out, find out what the topic prompt is, if I can use outside sources or not, and get the details. So I've got to do that. But every semester, students get a different set of topics, so you always have to check for that. Here it is. Essay 1 is an exemplification, and if you have read your Chapter 8, looked at the Integrity video for that, you know that it is an essay that uses specific examples to develop the essay. That's the focus. No matter what the topic would be, you would use examples. Our topic is how technology has changed how people communicate today. And if we skim down here a little bit, we're going to use personal examples from our own life or from people that we know. Okay, so discuss 3 ways. If you looked at that one video I had in there, the magic of 3, that will work. We're going to always be developing 3 main points, for our 5-paragraph essays, and our thesis is always going to list those. It's real simple. Okay, so the idea, of course, is that technology has changed a lot and things are constantly being updated, so change is just happening, and we're going to pick 3 ways that it has changed. Okay, others update as often as they can, and it has an effect. No outside sources may be used, so we can't go and Google how technology has changed. We can't use that. If you're like getting a blank in your head, you could Google it, but you can't use any of that information. You just have to think, maybe you think how it's changed. Start with yourself. This is personal, so you have to use personal examples because it's not an outside source researched paper. Okay, now you got to go down and see, we get a topical outline, and then we do the draft. Okay, and because we're on a week by week for summer, moving really fast, we kind of have to combine those. Just make a note, we can use I or my because we're using personal examples, but we can't say you, or we. Okay, with that in mind, I know now what my assignment is. I'm just going to get a little Microsoft Word document here, open it up, and I'm going to start kind of brainstorming. So, how technology has changed, what was it? How people communicate. Okay. Changed how people can communicate. All right, well, I would start with myself. Let's see. Use the phone less for talking. I use my cell phone a lot, but not so much for talking. Use texting instead of sending notes or mail. Email instead of postal service. Facebook instead of phoning. The whole global connection, let's see what else has, increased. I could take another angle. Frequency of contact or communication increased. I think this is just thinking myself. Then I could take, well, that's positive, but there are some negatives. Less face-to-face communication. This has a negative effect. Texting as a distraction, like driving, social conversation. People sit there at the table and they don't talk, they text. that kind of thing. All right, I think I have enough ideas to get started. So that would be kind of like a pre-writing, brainstorming. Some of you would do it in your head. I just kind of jotted it down. So I've got to create an outline now, which means I have to pick 3. Now I could go negative or positive. Mostly I see it from the positive. There are downsides, but I'm going to just focus on that it's changed and maybe mostly for the better. Let's see, I could try how use of phones has changed from talking to texting, social media. Okay, so instead of verbal, talking to texting and social media. I could, that'd be one good one. Let's see, global access through the internet, and I'm thinking Facebook connections with, now remember we're talking about how people communicate, so I'm not thinking about information. I'm thinking about email with people around the country and world. And then I need a third point, and let's see. How about how many multiple ways to communicate instead of just a few? Because now you have so many to choose from, it's can't even keep up. Instead of just being, you either talk to them face to face or you called them up on the phone. I mean, when I think about my parents or my grandparents, or you wrote them a letter. So the past was letters, face to face, telephone. Present, there's just all these multiple ways. Okay, so that gives me 1, 2, 3. All right, whoops. From that, I can create a basic thesis. I can decide later if I want to change the order, maybe as I draft. But right now, I'm not trying to perfect everything. I'm in a hurry, right? We have a little bit of time, and this video is not going to, give me but so much time. From that, then the other thing I'm asking you for is examples. So I'm going to have to okay, myself, I talk less on a phone than I text or use Facebook messaging to communicate, and that's kind of in general, so I'm going to need a specific friend. I have a friend right now whose husband is in the hospital, and she keeps me updated primarily through texting and Facebook. Another example is my dog is in the hospital. This has been a big week. I email, I use my phone to text or Facebook updates, but I get updates from my vet by regular phone use. She calls, we talk, which is, means I still use it, but I'm using it all these other ways. All right, now that's a little different from the global access, because these people are these are in my community. And instead of just calling them on the phone, because it's not local, I mean, it is local, it's not long distance, I would say I would talk about here, I'm thinking about my college friends who live in other states. And my specific examples would be my friend who lives in Hawaii. She's married to a Navy officer. I have a best friend from college who lives in Mississippi. I have a classmate from high school who lives in North Carolina. I've got family who live out of state, so NC and Pennsylvania. Then I have friends who live in Costa Rica. And then right now, my son is studying abroad in Spain. Spell that typo there, fix that. Okay, so there's some good examples. And then multiple ways. I've got to hurry here, but I would do more than list them, but I'm going to start with that. FaceTime or Skype. Depends on what kind of phone you have, I found out. So my son and I are going to probably start doing Skype. That's a cheaper way. There's Twitter. My children, or my girls especially, are just telling me I need to do Snapchat. Haven't quite done that yet. Instagram. I've got some examples. And so what I would need after I think of these multiple ways, then I've got to have some specific examples. Skype with son, Snapchat with my daughters, as opposed to my parents who, barely check their email, hardly answer their phone, it's just crazy. So this is what I'm talking about. This should give you a good idea. So once I've got my outline and I've thought of my content, then I can create a thesis. The thesis would just be kind of a summary sentence that says technology has changed how people communicate. People use the phone less for talking. They can communicate around the world easily, and there are multiple ways to communicate instead of just a few. And that would be a thesis statement. I'm going to kind of, have more to my intro than that. Then I'm going to write a draft that just starts with this as a sentence, makes a sentence out of number 2, makes a sentence out of number 3, and then, explains and gives those out there. I need at least 500 words. So you may not get as far as a conclusion, but I need to see that you are, how your development of your body is, and then you'll be good to go. And if I could figure